Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Ksubas daf Mem Ches. We're going to begin on Mem Ches Amud Al, the sixth line from the top. So we concluded that there was an obligation of Sher Ksusa Na, that a man has an obligation to provide for his wife clothing, food, as well as marital relations. On this, the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbi Yosef, Sher Zukira Basar. It doesn't just mean having tashmish, but it means the man and woman coming close to one another without anything separating them. That one should not be noyeg like the Persians. That they actually have tashmish with their clothes on. That is something in which is not within the parameters of what the Torah says. In fact, it's telling us that the Torah is requiring that that's not acceptable, which of course goes against the fallacy that people say that in Orthodox settings they have this sheet with a hole in it and that's how the husband and wife cohabit, which of course not only is it something which isn't done, the Gemara here says explicitly it's not allowed to be done. So Masayle Rabhuna Diyamar Rabhuna Ha'emer Iavshi Ella Ani Bevigdi Vehi Bevigda Yotiv Nesing Ksuba. If a person says the only way this is going to take place is if I'm wearing my garments and you have to wear your clothes, and that's how I'll have tashmish, so that's not acceptable, and she can leave and she'll get her ksuba. It's not a relationship. Rabbi Huda Omer Fil Ani Shemi Yisrael V'chul. So Melchad the Tanakama Savar Hani Lo. So the question is, how is it possible that there's no obligation for the husband to take care of his wife's remains if she dies? So hey Chanami, Id Orcha, if it's the normal way that this is how she's supposed to be buried with people with flutes and criers, so my Tanakama di Armilo. Now how can they say not? Bidalav Orcha, if this is not normal practice, my time to Behuda. Why would he say it's necessary when it's not even the practice? Let's read and this is going to be question number one. It's her cost. It's his custom, but it's not her custom. So he has this additional elevated status of how the funeral should take place. So Tanakama Savar Kiamrinan. The only time we say that you're supposed to elevate and lift up your partner is only while they are alive. But once they've died, so it's not necessary. So that's a machlokas. You have to elevate your spouse to a higher level, and the question is, does that also apply by Misa? Amar Avchista Amar Mar Ukva Halacha Rabbi Huda. The halacha is like the Rabbi Huda; it's required. V'Amar Avchista Amar Mar Ukva Mi Shinish Tata based in Yarden Lachasav Zanin Mafarnasin Es Ishto Uvanaisav V'Davracher. So it says that if you have a person who Shinishtate became a shaita, so because they lost their sanity, Beis Din can go to the possessions and make sure that the wife and the children are taken care of, as well as davar acher, which is not so clear what that is. The Gemara is going to explain. So when in the Siyam, if a person goes across country, and the woman is asking for mizonos, based in Yardul Nechasav, V'zan Mefarnasin Es Ishto. So we provide for this woman because her husband's left the country. But here's the key: not the children and not this davar acher. Again, I'll explain what davar acher is. But the point is that we see that there's a distinction. No question is, why should there be a distinction? In both situations, the man is not capable of supporting them. Either he's not here or he's a shaita. So why in one case do we not give for the children on time we do? Isn't different being someone who left with consent and someone who left without das. So if you left with consent, ladas, so in that situation we just take care of the wife. But a person lost all of his abilities, so in that situation we say that we also will take care of the person, of everyone. This is what Rashi says. Yatzim in a makam ladas hayibiyadu latzavas al mezainos banav anoisav v'ishto v'lotziva. The fact that he didn't say anything, gila daita sheina rotzel lazunon. It's clear he doesn't want to help them. Hilcha says Rashi, Ishto the mechayev la b'tanai ksuba. The man has an obligation to have her fed. So every shtab in nechase or b'nav anoisav lo. Now when it comes to your children, you don't have a chiyuv. So the fact that you could have said something and you just didn't, so therefore it's clear that you don't want to give to the children. Therefore, you only have to give to your wife because it's Tanai Ksuba. However, a person became shaita, so in that situation, Rashi says, the yatzim in oilam. He didn't just go to another country, he's out of this world. So therefore, we probably will assume that he probably wanted to continue to support his children, but we have no idea to know this definitively except to understand that's probably his intention, therefore we should give them too. So my devarachers, Rav Chisda Omer, Zet Tachshit. This is referring to Tachshit, which Rashi says are Besamim Shel Avakas Roichel. These are special spices that a peddler gives to this women so that they should have this nice smell. Rav Yosef Omer, Tzedakah. So Mandir Tachshit, that you're supposed to provide this nice aroma or perfume, Koshki and Tzedakah. Certainly you should be giving them charity. However, if you say tzedakah, when it comes to tachshit, we'll say that it's not good that she would be menuvel. Okay, so the one who says tachshit lo yavin ishto, this is actually the way you're supposed to read it. Rashi says the one who says that tachshit you don't give to the wife, certainly it's not upon us to give tzedakah. However, in the event that you may not want to give tzedakah, but will still want to give besamim, because we assume that he's not going to want his wife to be menuvel. A person who traveled across abroad, umesa ishto, and his wife died. So umesa ishto, so based in yad chasav. So the basin can go into his possessions. The karban asa, because he has a chiyuv to bury her and he's not around, so the basin can go into his estate. Lafi kvodo, according to his honor. So lafi kvodo, lafi kvoda, ema af lafi kvodo, even according to his honor. Hakamashman oil ima v'neredes ima v'fil achar misa. That even after misa we go not we don't just say it's during lifetime, we take a step up even achar misa. So Omer Rav Masna Haimer, the person says, Im Mesa. If you die, lo tigbaruha, I will not bury you. So in this case, he's going to die first, and he makes this declaration. He says, I'm going to die, but if you die, I'm not going to pay for your expenses. Menachasam from my possession. So shomin loy, in that case we will listen. Maishna kiha the nafli nixi kamei yasmi, because he's going to predate her in death. So his nechasim are going to go to the assignment. So ki loy armenami nixi kamei yasmi rama. What's the difference if he said it or not? Regardless, it's not going to be his money. He died, and his kids have it. So who says that they would have to do? Even if he wouldn't say anything, it wouldn't help. He wouldn't have the Yisrael wouldn't have to do the kvura. El ha'emer, if a person says, "Imes who," if when I die, lo tikbaruhu, that you should not bury me with my money, rather just get tzedakah to collect it. Don't use my money. Menachasav ein shaim lo. We don't listen to him because lav kol himenu. Shiyashir's bana v'yapol atzmo al tzibor. It's an unbelievable line. So many powerful sentences in this top. That a person is not allowed to make his children rich at the expense of harming the tzibor. No. So therefore, you cannot say, I want the tzibor to take care of my kvura, and because of that, my children be rich. No. If that case, in that situation, we say that it's necessary that the money for your kvur will you take them from your estate, and we don't care what you say. Question TA2. So a person who becomes a shaita, so Basin can go into the possessions and also to sustain the wife and also the children. So so it says davar acher. What's davar acher? Mahadin b'halach medinas hayam. Okay, so that's a lot of parts. So it's a machlokas if it's taksha or tzedakah. When it goes medinas hayam, you only have to feed the wife, but not the children. So that was TA2. So let me just find this. My davar acher. So Rav Chisda omer ze taksha. Rav Yosef omer ze tzedakah. And the other point was over here, Mishnishtate, based in Yardal Nechasim Bezonim Afarnas and Esishto, Uvanu Uvanoisa V'davar Acher. However, when it comes to Mishal Machdinas Hayam, so only Esishto of a low banov Uvanoisa V'lo Davar Acher. So that's the difference, and we discuss why. B3. So the answer is no, we don't. The question is why not? Is because he did it ladas, and that's what we're gonna. For TB3, I'm also going to be writing down this Rashi over here. So again, there's this chiluk of v'loishani loch bein yoytzel ladas l'yoytzel ladas, which is the language of the Gemara, but we would use this Rashi here as well. Yotzim in a makom ladas hoy b'yodel latzava yisal mazonis manoisav v'ishto v'loy tziva. So it's a gilui dash she'enu writes a lozin hilkach ishto the mechayev lo b'tanaik suba ishta b'nechasi but of a noisav lo. Okay, let's continue now with the next Mishnah. That was TB3. Good. Mishnah. L'oilam hi b'rishus av. So this girl is considered b'rishus av. It's still, she's like in her father's domain. Ad shetichanes. Until she enters rishus habal l'nesuin. Once she is already in her husband's house and they're married. Now, what is this referring to? So Rashi says, Im bas Yisrael morasa l'kohen. So you have a bas Yisrael who is not allowed to eat truma. She gets engaged to a kohen. So eventually she could eat truma, or maybe even now. He eino achelas b'truma. No, she's not allowed to eat truma, even though erison has taken place. We'll see Rashi why. 2 reasons. So since she's considered to be in like her father's domain, so therefore the father is zeichet to all the different things, as we mentioned, stipulated in the previous Mishnah, regarding the Matziyasa, for Nidareham, and other items as well, like her Masya Deha, or what she finds. Fine. So let's continue now in Mem Chesam and Beis in the Mishnah. Masar Avu Shlich Bal. Let's say she's not yet in her husband's house, but he gave over a shliach to have her go over to his house. And basically, as Rashi explains, so let's continue. Sorry, Bershus Abal. So at that moment, it's no longer in her. She's no longer in her father's domain. So as long as the father gave her over to the shliach abal and shliach shalan kamosu, so therefore the shliach abal is going to bring her over to the baal himself. So therefore, it's like she's already in the baal's domain. Halach av im shliach abal. Let's say the father accompanies her, or shaholchu shliach av im shliach abal, or the shliach av go with the shliach abal. Harihi b'rishus av. So the din is it's still b'rishus av because the father hasn't walked away. It's not just enough that he gives over his daughter, but it's the fact that he walks away is the notion too. Masa shulchei av or shulchei abal. If the shulchei av, once the shulchei av give over the shulchei abal, harihi b'rishus abal. Okay. So ma'u oyun. What does it mean that she's always in the father's domain? Well, what is that coming to add? Lafukim in Mishnah Rishayna, to exclude the first Mishnah, which is in Parak Alpha P, did not hagizman v'hanisai. Let's say again he was supposed to marry her after 12 months. After 12 months, he's already now mechuyev to provide her mazonos, or for an alma, the 30 days. V'haniso, and he doesn't marry her. For example, let's say the chassan doesn't marry her right away. There's some type of an oinus, as we saw in the beginning of this masechta. So it then is she we make sure that she's able to eat. And also, even though the daughter's is only mereses to a kohen, she could eat truma. Kamashmalan l'oilam. That's what it's coming to say. No, even after the 12 months have gone by, she's still not allowed to eat truma. Masar avu shulchi habal. Fine. So once the father gives her over to the Baal, the shulchim of the Baal, har hibrishos abal b'chul. Amrav mesirasa l'choil. She's considered to be given over for everything chutz mitruma, with the exception of truma, namely that even though the father really is not connected anymore, it's still just given over to the shulchan Baal. Just the husband hasn't seen her yet. So that's the one exception. She's not allowed to eat truma. And this is going to be question 2. But my tole hanidan imasiras avla shulchan Baal machil b'truma. So Rav Asi Yomer avla truma. So what's the nafkamina? So the Gemara in Kedushin and elsewhere, Rashi quotes the time of didam mishum simpun, that it's brought down in Perak Afal Pi, which we'll see, that v'kati ikol mecha shulhachi shem yimsu b'mumin v'hay kudisha v'nuseha ta'is. So maybe until the husband actually sees her and sees her in without clothing, let's say, or certain parts of her body are exposed, and he finds out that she has a blemish, and he found that repulsive, and she should have told him that there was something wrong with her, so then it's going to be a kedushi tais, so we don't want her to eat truma. Or we can say no. Rashi says the reason why you could is because the second reason why during Erison she doesn't eat truma is mishum shem yimzgula kais b'vesavia v'tishgal achel v'achoiseha v'hashin de'eno achel v'achoseh. That's l'shari. So the whole issue is because she's in her father's house and her brothers are there, her sisters. So if we allow her to start eating truma, which technically she's allowed to because she had Erison, but if that happens, she's gonna have all this truma food all over the place, and she's in a house of non-Kohanim, so maybe her brothers and sisters, this was why the Gemara doesn't over there say your father, but it's possible that people in your house are going to start eating the truma. So therefore, the only time it's an issue is if she's still there, but now she's to go to the shulchan habal, so it's not an issue to be able to eat truma. So according to Rav Asi, you say that that it's not an issue anymore. It says that it's until she's mamash given over to chuppah, still she's not allowed to eat truma. So how could you say that she's allowed to eat truma? It doesn't sound correct. So Amru lahu Rav Lava Minuchu. I tell you, tells Ubasa after the backwards. The fact that he gave her over, that's comparable to Knisasol Chuppah, which we know also like the non-Jewish customs that the husband, the father rather, gives over his daughter to the husband. So there's an element by the chuppah, or at the time of this wedding, that there's an element of Mesirasa. So there's this connection between Mesirasa and Knesel Chuppah, and therefore that's enough. Shmuel Oimer Lirushasa. Actually, and this is going to be question 3, La'elu Devarim Koyam Lupli Mesirasa Abba Shulcha Bal Havi Kechuppah. These things, no one argues. The giving over the father giving her over to the shulchim is comparable to chuppah. So it's possible. It's referring to Yerusha. Okay, so what is that referring to regarding Yerusha? So Rashi says, Huda Mahani Masira. Why? She'im Mesa B'derech. If let's say she dies on the road, Bal Yarish Nidunyasa, that the man, her husband, will get the dowry. Skipping a couple lines of Rashi, Kivan de Masra, since he was given over, the father gave her over, Achuli Achal Av, he was Michael. Avul Truma, we also said before, the dowry is tali on the Shidduch by the Erison. Avul Truma, Hafaras Nedereha, when it comes to Truma, or being made for Neder, Shalom B'Shutvis, Siyasa, and also finding a lost object, the Enu Elu Mishum Eva, is because of Eva. V'kati Leiko Mecha Shahachi Lo Mahani Masira Ki Chuppah. We say it's not like that. So when it comes to Yerusha, that is one element where we find that giving her over is considered to be like chuppah. Reish Lakish Amar L'Ksubasa. It's referring to the ksuba. What is that? Rashi says, Huda Mahani Masira, Vahashta Kaboy Hashas Milse. So the Gemara is going to ask, Ksubasa Mahi. Di Mesa, does it mean that if she dies, Yoris Law, that he's going to inherit her? So Hainu Deshmuel, it's the same thing that has to do with a dowry. So Chayra, that's not really much of an argument. So Rabbeinu Oimer to say Ksubasa Me'achar Mana. It's referring to if she marries someone else. As Rashi was Shavi Almana min Nesuin, that she'll be considered like an Almana from the time of Nesuin. Shotekinu Chachamim Almana min Hakainsa Achrikain. So therefore, that if she marries someone else, the ksuba is only going to be 100. Rav Yochanan and Rav Chanina Demertavayu Misirasul Koil Afla Truma. Actually, also when it comes to truma, it's comparable. Meisvei halchabim shluchei abal. Let's say the father goes together with the shluchim of the husband. Oh, shahalchu shluchei av im shluchei abal. The father's shluchim went with the husband's shluchim. Oh, shahais. There's still this link back to the father. Oh, shahaisel chatzer b'derech. Let's say there was some type of a courtyard in the way. V'nichnasi imo lolin, and they went together there to sleep. So afal pishu ksubasa b'meis bala, even the ksubas totally in the house of the husband, meis, if she dies, avia yarsha, the Yerusha goes back to the father. Masar abu shulchei abal, but once the father gives her over, osha masar shulchei abu shulchei abal, the shluchim give her over to the shluchim of the husband. Oh, shahayisaloi chatzer b'derech. There is this courtyard, which is on the road, v'nichnasi imo l'shum nesuin, but they went there not to sleep, but they went there for the sake of actually performing the suin. Ava piyashik subas v'beisavia mesa bala yarsha. At that moment, now the husband is yarsh because they're like completely married. So b'medim memorim. When do we say this? L'yerushasa, when it comes to inheriting. Of l'truma, when it comes to her eating truma, ein isha chelas b'truma should chelas l'chuppah. We actually require her to first be married. So tiyofta de kuhu tiyofta. This is actually a tiyofta. So haguf akasha. Armin nechnasimo lolin. So he said, if let's say she's going there just to sleep, so therefore the father will have the right to her, to the Yerusha if she dies. So time of the lolin. The whole reasons why they went there was to lie down, to sleep. Ha-stamo l'shem nesuin. If they just did stam, it's nesuin. Says Rashi, hadei nechnasi imo lolun lo shepirsha lolun ani nechnasas lo l'shem nesuin. He didn't do it for sleeping. He didn't go for marriage. Just plainly. So ema save nechnasi imo l'shem nesuin ha-stamo lolun. So the question is, when it comes to stam, in a situation wasn't done with a kavana of lolun or nesuin, what's the din? So Amar Rashi. Stami, stame, katani. Stam, it mentions. What does that mean? Stam chatzer, didolon. When it comes to a stam chatzer, it's which is hers, it's to sleep. Stam chatzer didei, if it's his, then it's suin. So therefore, it's totally on whose it is. Okay. Tana, Masar al v'shulchei abal v'zinsa. Let's say the man gave her over to the shulchim, and then she was mazana. Now, even though normally by an erison we say namarasa is the punishment of skila, here the din is harizu b'chenek. Already she now is in the status of chenek. So this is another case again where giving over makes that difference, not just by Yerusha, but also the misasa b'chenek im zinsa. So how do we know that giving over that also removes her status, that she no longer gets skila? What does that mean? Not that she was mazana mamish in the house of her father, but this is coming to exclude rak prat l'mishimasar ha'avu shulchei abal. If she was already given over to the shulchei abal, even at that status, she gets chenek. Maybe it's just coming to exclude that she actually already went to chuppah, but she didn't have bia yet. Even in that situation, the din is chenek. So Marava Amrli Ami chuppah behedya. When it comes to chuppah, it's behedya ksiva. Ki yen nara besul marasal ish. Nara vo bogeres. The punishment is she has to be between 12 and 12 and a half. Besul vo be'ula. It's only when she's a besula. Marasal vo nesua. So we already know it has to be during eris and not during chuppah, which is nesuin. So we already know certainly it's not talking about where she was already be moisel chuppah. So my nesua. Ilim nesua mamish that she's completely married 100%. Hainu besula. If that means they already had bia, he consummated the marriage. Now, so instead, it's talking about. So therefore, again, we're going to stop at this point. So again, when it comes to a situation where she was given over to shluchei habal, at that moment, no longer is there a din of chanek of skila, but rather the din is chanek. See if there's any questions that we didn't do yet. Adka.